So, welcome back to the show, everyone. Today we're going to kind of tackle a fun topic with Kathy, our legal guru.
I don't know that I've ever heard someone say, hey, net neutrality, that'll be a fun topic to discuss.
Well, it is a fun
Let's
topic
talk about
because, there's so much to it. Like, what we see from geek end is they're going to try to charge the internet for doing different things. Basically, they're going to commercialize the internet, which shouldn't be commercialized. So I'm going to just kind of, Kathy, what is net neutrality actually about?
Let's see what
Okay.
Again, we've got Republicans and Democrats going at it here.
Well, it's not really it can be a political issue, but it really shouldn't be a political issue. It's really a technical issue. You still have the same pipes that everyone still has, and so if you get too many people on the system at the same time, downloading or uploading, whatever the case may be, you're going to get a traffic jam.
But
so you need
the counter to that is
you need to have some kind of network management. And that's already allowed. They already do that. Everyone knows that they do that. They have to do that because otherwise nobody gets it. Just like when 9/11 happened, everyone's cell phones didn't work because everything got jammed. Well, this is fiber, and you have a lot more data going through, which is possible, but it's really a technical issue.
See, that's where I completely disagree with you. With this antiquated system, yes, but gradually we're getting much faster bandwidth in with Google Fiber, for example. It's not across the country yet, but the laws they're putting in now are still going to be in effect 10 years from now when the country has a bandwidth capacity that's literally hundreds of times higher than it currently is.
Sure, but the law, the way it stands now, it classifies the internet as a enhanced service versus telecommunication services, which are basic services. You have the dumb line versus the smart line. And so the way they have classified it, the FCC originally sent out, it was an order in 1980 or something like that. It was Computer 2 or Computer something 2. And so they defined what telecommunications
But
were.
in 1980, they had no idea that DARPA was going to invent a thing that would become the internet.
Well, they actually did have all the dark fiber in there, and all the stuff was already being laid out. They just didn't know how to use it because they didn't have the interface in order for them to use it, but they knew it was there. So they classified it as information service versus telecommunication services. And so you can't, the Congress passed the 1996 law taking in all of the definitions that the FCC had set forth. So now it's statutory. You have broadband, which is classified, everyone calls broadband information, it really is information services versus telecommunication. So you have in the statute that you can only regulate telecommunications, not information, as a common carrier. And what the FCC is proposing to do now with the open internet order that got struck down in January, they were trying to say that they wanted to classify it as a common carrier, but you can't do that because it's statutorily not there. You have to reclassify the entire thing, and so that's what they needed to do. But they haven't done
get
that
in principle. The problem that I have is my understanding of the law is what will happen now is they can say charge more for specific providers. So, for example, if Netflix wants to stream something to my house, it won't cost me any more to go and get my internet service from whoever's providing it, but it will cost Netflix more to send that directly to me.
Well, they're allowed to.
Not right now.
Yes, they are allowed to. There's nothing in the law that prohibits them from coming up with their own individual pricing and things like that. That is part of what you do as a business. You can't do that.
From what I thought was going on was it was saying, okay, they're going to unregulate it, so that now there's Time Warner, AT&T, and say Comcast. They all provide internets. They all provide different internet packages. Well, now AT&T can say you can get Netflix. They'll say Netflix, you can get your stuff faster by paying this extra fee. Or Hulu can do the same thing, whereas Comcast can do the same thing. So you may get Netflix faster on. They'll do a Time Warner do a contract with Netflix saying fastest Netflix speeds. So if you're on the other ones, you don't get fast Netflix speed. And let's face it, we're spoiled. We like our instant gratification.
See, the Netflix, I understand why people keep coming back to that one because it's the thing that soaks up the most bandwidth. What I'm more concerned with is their ability, from my understanding of the law, to go in and say, hey, the guy that owns this company doesn't like gay people, so we're going to make sure that that PFLAG site doesn't stream very fast.
But that's not what, I mean, that's, then you have discrimination, then you have the FTC coming in saying you're doing different things, treating people discriminatorily, but that's a completely different topic.
That's not part of net neutrality.
Because that's kind of how it's been portrayed.
But that's not the FCC's role. The FCC's role is to regulate telecommunications services.
Are we actually talking about two different? This is really really interesting. Are we talking about two different things? Because what I've heard discussed as net neutrality has been the type of things that he and I are going on about. Is there a whole separate set of laws that people aren't even thinking about?
Well, you have the FTC, which is Federal Trade Communication, that makes sure that you are not engaging in unlawful practices, which are, discrimination and all the other things that you are doing as bad business.
Yeah.
And so you have the FTC watching you as like Comcast. If they find out or somebody complains to them, they're going to take it to the FTC to say, hey, they are blocking all of my traffic. But they're not going to do that because that's bad business for them, because they're going to get such a backlash that they're not going to be.
But
and
what
plus
if it's not
having to
something
prove
that
it. And then having to
I picked
prove
that one because it was a kind of hyperbolic, extreme thing that people go, yeah. But what if it's something like, I just don't want someone who owns stock in you can have someone who owns a variety of stocks, and they're just going to make sure that companies that are competing with their stocks just don't have their stuff streaming as fast. There's not actually a law against that.
But
you're going to have a whole lot of different speeds going on.
Well, of course.
And making information much more difficult to acquire.
Well, no, the end user is not going to see the difference for it. This is more.
They will.
No, well, the issue is between the edge provider and the broadband provider. So you have like AT&T, who lays out all of the lines and stuff like that. Then you have like the edge providers, which are like Amazon and those kinds of people. Well, if they want that fast, they have to pay for it. That's between them and the broadband provider. It's not the end user.
But what about, say, Kitchen Overlord? I can't afford to pay a massive amount of money out there.
But you're not going to be streaming as much as Netflix and taking that much bandwidth. That's what I'm saying. If you get to the point where you have 1 million people coming to your site every hour, you're going to be making money, and you're going to be able to pay for that, and you're going to be able to provide those services to your customers. But that's
the problem, though, is Netflix started as a really small thing that was able to kind of rise up. This is going to quash any other small things that are able to rise up like that.
Netflix started, though, as this DVD subscriber service.
Let's throw the Netflix example out. I use it because a lot of people
I see what you're saying. Smaller things like us that grow into bigger things. But she makes the same point that once we get to the bigger thing, we can afford that.
The problem is you can never become a bigger thing.
You can still become the bigger thing.
Not if you can't afford to pay for the faster services from the beginning.
But my question is should we be allowing the internet to do this? Because we all pay for internet as it is. That should be enough to pay for.
None of the end users are complaining about their speed. They're complaining because maybe AT&T, like for us at my apartment, goes out, just randomly goes out, and then there's no competition. That's the problem. There aren't enough people out there providing competition like there are for Verizon, like the phones and cell phones. There's tons of competition.
But my understanding with that is we're actually going in the exact opposite direction. Time Warner and Comcast just merged, and now...
well, I don't know if that's going to go through.
All right, it seemed to be a done deal from everything that I've read. It's looking pretty probable, and no one seems to be really... that's merging massive amounts of more people under one service.
But then
if you're able to get more diversity of service, how is anyone going to be able to compete with someone that has a population that's greater than the population of Australia as their customer base?
Well, then that's twofold. So then you have the huge telecommunication providers or information service providers like broadband having the money and the resources to build out more. But then you also have them saying, well, what we want and what we don't want on our site, but then you have broadcasting issues. And so, you have different issues that are playing into it. So saying that you are going to get charged or your internet's going to get cut off, that completely negates the entire argument what this whole thing is. It's not as easy as, everything's going to get charged and we're going to lose our internet. It doesn't work that way.
It's not that we're going to lose all of the internet. It's that we're going to lose a lot of the fringe things that are not as popular.
I don't think so. I mean, you're still going to be able to upload your stuff and download your stuff the same way.
But-
I mean,
But if
it's
the
not-
speeds are so slow because you're not paying to be on that internet fast lane,
But that's the thing. That's where the competition comes in, and that's where the other part of it is. You have all these people who
do you
have
see
enough.
what I'm saying when I
know,
say
but
the people
wait,
that
you're
can't
not letting
afford
me.
to speed?
You're not letting me finish the thing. So you have all these big infrastructures coming in to build it, but then you don't have the competition for these to go out and get it. But you also have rules that require them to lend out their lines to other people.
So are you saying that net neutrality is going to bring in, have the ability to have other companies come in and do internet, so it's not just the main providers?
Okay, so net neutrality isn't something. I mean, it's, you know what I mean? It's the,
Yeah.
it's
It's a broad term.
a broad term, so you have to be more specific on the
So
question.
would you
So-
say that for what most people think of as net neutrality, it's actually two separate issues? One issue being the information distribution and the other issue being the actual physical hardware.
I don't know.
Okay?
No, I mean, I
wasn't
don't,
trying to-
yeah, it's more of, it's a technical issue,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also the ability for companies to provide the services that they want to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't, your internet's not going away. They still need you as a customer so
Yeah,
that they
but
can stay in business,
the
so they
problem
can
is-
continue to build out.
The internet, will we get Netflix faster than, let's say, we get Hulu?
Well, I think we're already paying more for Netflix because that they've made a deal with Time Warner and it's immediately translated into $1 more per customer. $12 a year isn't going to kill anybody, but is it going to be $1 more for, again, me having to, if I want to host a video directly on Kitchen Overlord, et cetera, et cetera. It's what I'm worried about is all the really interesting, fun things from the internet have come from those fringes and gradually become popular.
Sure, but I really don't think that that's a boogeyman that's going to come out. I mean, I really don't think that people are not going to get access to the internet.
It's not that it would be systematically denied. It's that if you can't afford, people are impatient. If
I
you're-
know, but nobody's charging you for anything more than you're already paying for right now. You know what I
No,
mean?
they're charging the people providing the content.
They're charging you to get the service.
So basically what you're saying is technically wise, they're going to be able to draw on money from companies that use the internet the most to make sure it stays open
Yes.
and fast for everybody.
Yes, pretty much. I mean, that they need that money and to be able to build a
I don't
larger
feel like
infrastructure.
the companies, again, I
And-
think that we have two different issues going on. You're talking about infrastructure, and most people discussing net neutrality are talking about corporate policy as opposed to infrastructure. So I think that's actually something people should know, that there are two separate issues.
Yeah, it's complete. And one of them is more of a lobbyist thing who wants money. I mean, this is really kind of the whole like DC thing, but it's bringing up a boogeyman so they can lobby, so they can get more money, so they can lobby the problem that didn't exist before. So, I mean, it's kind of a cynical way of looking at it, but really nobody was complaining about it before. And then all of a sudden, somebody's all like, oh, let me get this great idea that we can, like, come up with this boogeyman so that everyone's going to
See,
lose
I disagree with that.
they're
I've
gonna
heard
lose
people
their-
talking about net neutrality as an issue since the 90s. Like, I'm old enough that I remember this coming up in 96 as an issue then, and then we kind of glazed over it for a while, and now we're back again.
Yeah, they're making money off of it now. So that's why it's back.
So basically the bottom line is people really need to look at both sides before they just jump on whatever's on Wiki or some meme or some Facebook post.
Yeah, I mean,
Like I do.
well, no, I mean, your internet's not going away. Okay, you're not going to get charged anything more than you're already getting charged. It might go up
End
for
users are
inflation.
going to have to pay more for a variety of services because that cost is being passed on to the actual manufacturers of that information.
Yeah, but then you have competition that will drive the prices down.
Where's this
and so-
competition coming
But that's
from?
what I'm saying.
Literally,
I
where is
don't
the competition
think
supposed
that
to come
the
from?
FTC is going to approve that merger because you can't have that much in one, and I just don't think they're
Yeah.
going to do it. But you never know. Somebody might throw up a satellite next year and just completely wipe out all of broadband as we know as fiber, and you won't need it anymore. You'll get a terabyte a second. I mean, you don't know what people are doing, and so for the FCC or anybody else to just like say we're going to decide what it is like they did in 1980, what's going to happen in 20 years, that's just arrogance, complete and total arrogance.
Well, it's nice that we established there's two different sides of this subject, and we'll probably have to develop a whole nother show to go into the other sides and more of it. But we're out of time for this segment today. So thank you for coming in and actually making me think a little bit more about it and getting in a fight with Chris-Rachael about.
We're not fighting. We like each
Oh.
other.
Right, we never fight.
So net
We
neutrality.
go to movies and then we fight.
We're gonna definitely be looking at this more, but definitely do some more research on it and ask people who know more about the technical side of it, because I kind of understand they have to have money to do it, because let's face it, more and more people get the internet every day.
It's
and
business.
there's always so much space.
It's business and it's a technical issue.
But
Just
maybe the
remember that.
internet shouldn't be a business, you know?
Then how are you never mind.
In
I don't
cities
know.
where it's a public utility, it actually has higher speeds and is more efficient and goes down less often.